Hello, and welcome to Pep Talks. This week, Ghana and Ghanaians are voting. Let me tell you how I'm going to vote. Hey, let me tell you how I'm not going to vote. Now, as someone who's in leadership authority, humbly, let me put it that way, because I have advanced degrees in leadership, and I've been studying leadership for the last 30 years, apart from practicing it. One of the key things about leadership is taking responsibility. In fact, before you even talk about vision and casting vision and mobilizing people and all these things that we say leadership is, before any of that, serving people, influencing people, before any of that, leadership is first responsibility. And for me, the current government hasn't really taken responsibility for where we are today regarding our economy, whether it's inflation rate, whether it's exchange rate, horrendous. They haven't taken responsibility for Galamsey. The president even had said he was going to put his presidency on the line. He hasn't done it. Then they said we will not go to World Bank, we will not go to IMF. Long story short, you know what happened. And then e-levy, which I thought was not done with emotional intelligence, because if you had read the room, the mood in the country, that's not the way to go. And if you say you have a policy of digitalization, you're actually disincentivizing people. Like, anyway, all I'm saying is that I haven't found this current government to be responsible and owning their mess. That's one of the first things I want to teach you, especially if you're a younger person. As leaders, we make mistakes. But when we make mistakes, if we quickly admit them, people are willing to forgive us. But if we insist on that and begin to spin stories and justify, no, people will not easily forgive us. So all I'm saying is that I think this current government in Ghana needs to be brought to be responsible, needs to be punished for the impudence and the imprudence, for the economic mismanagement. And one more thing, as I'm trying to teach my children responsibility, the last thing I wanted to hear was to have the vice president of our country, who is responsible for the economic management team and who has the second highest office in our country, to say, oh, I was only the mate, I was only the bus conductor, and I'll give it the steering wheel. That is irresponsibility of the highest order. I cannot in good conscience vote for this government to be maintained. On the other hand, it's very hard to vote for the NDC and Joe Mahama. I still remember those days. In those days, I mainly lived in Canada, and it was embarrassing. News item after news item. In fact, one day I got a call from a friend in Washington, D.C. He said, hey, your man is here, or your president is here. And I tell you, it's so embarrassing what's going on here. Even the number of people he brought to Washington, D.C. So I'm wondering whether he's really changed. What does he bring? Has he transformed? Has he matured? Is there something else he's bringing in this second coming? Or is it the same old person? So I have my doubts there. What I actually say is, I wouldn't vote for anybody who's part of the mess we are in currently. Anybody particularly who's part of the last 32 years, cumulatively, that has brought us to this part. But we don't have a strong third force, I understand. But I'll still vote for one of the third force. One of the third forces. Why? I believe that we need to send a strong signal to both traditional parties, both the NPP and the NDC, that Ghanaians have had enough. We are not impressed. So that means that if enough of us state that, none of the major parties will make the 50% plus one for the presidency, which will mean we need a roundup. And it's during the roundup that both of them will be negotiating with the third forces, with the smaller parties. And that is when we can make our demands and say that, you know what, we will be part of you or part of that if we don't have more than 50 ministers or whatever demands we in the third force want to make. So that's the way I am going to vote. And share in the comments how you are going to vote and why. But we must exercise our civic responsibility and vote. Take care.